Today I'll be talking about finding the day of the week for any date. So the purpose of this presentation is to figure out the day of the week for any date. So I invite someone to share with me a date for this year, and I will tell you what day of the week it is without using a calendar. And you can watch me just to see that I'm not actually looking it up if you'd like.
November 11th.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down, and that is 2020. So that equals 14, that equals 3, that's a Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Fancy.
So this is what I'm gonna try and teach you, how to do that and what I just did. So I memorized these numbers, which you see on the screen, for the month. Each month is worth a specific number, and there is a way of figuring that out, which I'll share in the resources afterwards. I won't go into depth of it now. And the other thing that I memorized was the days of the week. So depending on what day of the week it was, whatever the results that I got, whatever number that was, for example, I was left with a 3, and so I knew that it was a Wednesday. And I'll explain a little bit more about that after. So the calculation looks like this. It's day plus month plus year. And so based upon those 3 numbers, I got the day of the week. To put things in perspective, this calculation started off with everything stemming from January 1st, 1900, which was a Monday. So Monday equals 1. The day of the week represents every 7 days. If the first is a Monday, so is the 8th. So it's always 7 days apart. Something to consider is that there are leap years that exist. So with leap years, you do need to add this to the calculation. And if it is a leap year, you need to subtract 1 if it is from January or February. The year number is the hardest, but with practice, you can learn it. I still have trouble with it. So sometimes I need to confirm if I've figured out the year correctly. And so I've memorized 2020 quite easily. And so anything from this year, I can find out quite quickly, but beyond that, it takes me a little bit more time. So to go into the formula of what I did was the day is either the single or 2-digit number that is for that day. So for the example that was given, I used 11. For the month, I used the number that I memorized based upon the number table for the months. And I remembered that 2020 for anything past, because this is a leap year, anything past March is a 3. So I added 3 to that. So as I said, memorize the numbers. So for November, it was also a 3. Something that to be aware of if you're interested in taking this a step further is that there are ways to be able to figure out centuries and to calculate this into the calculation. So because it was everything stemming from January 1st, 1900, there's no adjustment for the 1900s, but for 2000 to 2099 is -1. You don't need to know that, but just in case you want to learn this further, it's helpful to know. With what I did is you need to remember to subtract multiples of 7, which takes you to the days of the week table because it's 0 to 7. And so I calculated for November, which was a 3, and I added that to 11, which was actually a perfect number for this because that equaled a 0 by subtracting as many 7s from that as I could. So what I was left with was the year, which was a 3. So you can either subtract multiples of 7 along the way, or you can subtract the 7s after. Some helpful shortcuts is that as the year number gets higher, mental calculations become difficult. So it is helpful to subtract sevens as you go, but you can always do it at the end if you prefer. For the century and for the year, to be able to figure out the years, because 28 is 4 times 7, you can actually take, for example, let's say 1929. You can subtract 28 from that, which equals 1. So it's sort of a helpful tool to be able to figure out the years for 1900s or for any other century based upon the century table that I showed earlier more quickly. And then to calculate and add the leap year, you do need to add the leap year before simplifying the number further. I'm not going to go too much detail into the year because that's the confusing part. What I will tell you is that for January and February, the year value for 2020 is a 2 because it is a leap year. And the year value for 2020 after February, so starting March 1st, is a 3. So that's something that's helpful if you want to find out what day of the week it is this year. So I've provided in this presentation some dates that you can practice with. So there are random dates, for example, the first flight of the Wright brothers or the first Oreo cookie being trademarked. So depending on if you want to look at this further and memorize this calculation, this is something that you can practice with. And this is just sort of a recap of how to do the calculation. So for December 31st, 1999, because it's the 31st, you can subtract 28 from that because that's divisible by 7. And so that gives you a 3. For the month, based upon the month table, December equals a 5. And then for the year, it is 99 subtract 84 because that's divisible by 7 and 4. So 28, it is 3 28s, I think, for 84. So that equals 15, but you can also subtract 4s from that to consider the leap year, which gives you a 3, which if you add those together, so the 15 plus the 3, that equals 18. As I said, the year is very hard to figure out, but it is possible to figure it out. And so 18 subtract 14, which is divisible by 7, equals 4. So what you do at the end is add 3 plus 5 plus 4, which in this presentation, it actually says plus 14. That is incorrect. But you add the 3 plus 5 plus 4, which equals 12. You subtract as many 7s, so that's 1 7, which gives you a 5. So the last day of 1900s was a Friday. As I said, I used this table to figure out what month it was. So for December, it's a 5. And so if you want to remember this, just some takeaways is that it's day plus month plus year equals the day of the week. You can memorize the tables for the months and the days of the week. And for 2020, for January 1st to February 29th, it is a 2 because of the leap year. And then the rest of the year is a 3. I'm not going to show you that calculation, but just something for you to be aware of. For simplifying other years, you can remember 28, 56, and 84. So for example, if it's 1929, subtract the 28, and so you're left with a 1, which can help you out with figuring out what the year is equal to. And to calculate, it is helpful to subtract multiples of 7. Subtracting as many multiples of 7 either as you go or at the end, and to figure out what day of the week it is, whatever that equals out to be, you can use the days of the week table to figure that out. So to finish off, practicing makes it easier and faster to calculate this in your head. You can always ask someone, what was the year again? If you forget after you have calculated the month and day, and you are welcome to email me with any questions. I have resources I can share with you and be able to describe this further. So for example, where do the months come from, because it looks a little bit frazzled just in terms of 0, 3, 3, 6, It's not easy to remember, but there are some tricks to memorize those numbers, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So if you are interested in this, I wish you luck, and I'm happy to help you. These are the answer keys to the dates. So if you want to try and figure that out, there is that tool to help you as well.